Finally, for verse 16, Paul mentions Sabbaths. The word in the Greek is plural. It's referring to specifically to the weekly Sabbath day requirement of the Old Testament. The plural is noted because it was a weekly feast day, and thus there were many Sabbaths each year. It is also inclusive of any special Sabbaths which were mandated under the law. So I covered everything right there you need to know. The same plural terminology is found in the Old Testament concerning the weekly Sabbath over 100 times. So if somebody says to you that's not speaking of the weekly Sabbath, it's speaking of something else because it's in the plural, you can say the Old Testament has the plural Sabbaths over 100 times. Okay? Don't let people pull the wool over your eyes and say that's not what Paul is speaking of. The context tells you if nothing else. Go back to verse 13, 14, and 15, and then we come into this verse, and it could not be any clearer. This is a very important verse. That's why I repeated it again and again and again during the Leviticus 23 feasts. Over 100 times. Exodus 31:31, for example, while speaking of the weekly Sabbaths, refers to them in the plural. The Sabbath is fulfilled in Christ. Hebrews 4:3 says that we rest in him now. Therefore, a Christian is to not let anyone judge him for not observing a Sabbath day. This is plain, this is clear, and not difficult to understand.